Hey all, it is the 27th, possibly where you're at. Could be the 28th, could be the 26th, maybe it's January. I don't know anymore. Time's weird. Cool. So, all right. So the first big thing is I rolled out the change criticality workflows, and my phone apparently picked right now to go off. There we go. All right. So I'll post the link in the Zoom chat, but it is also in the agenda doc. This is a change we're going to be doing on all our issues, MRs, and all that fun stuff moving forward. So to give you kind of the quick run through of what it's like, there are 4 change criticality levels, 1, 2, 3, and 4, because I'm not original. Essentially, it is dictating how big an impact the change has, what our communication style are, how far in advance we have to schedule this, et cetera, et cetera. So to give you some real quick definitions, like criticality 1 would be like changing the functionality of a very widely used Zendesk view. Like if we were going to change the all the SGG, sorry, if we're going to change all the SGG views dramatically in a way that would impact workflows, that's change level 1. If we were going to change SLA at all, that's change level 1. Altering like the Zendesk in some way that would be a significant workflow process change. A good example would be kind of some of the stuff we did in the review where we added new stages and stuff like that. I would call that a criticality 1. It's a pretty big impact to the overall process of how Zendesk is working. 2 would be like we're updating the theme. So obviously that's user facing, it's agent facing, it's everybody facing. So that's like level 2 change. Adding a brand new ticket form that is customer facing, changes to triggers or automations. Man, I can't talk today apparently. Automations that are relating to like SAT or support KPIs. So anything we did that changed how the SAT survey went out or how SAT's processed, or if we did something that changed the definitions of like what FRT and NRT is, stuff like that, be a change criticality 2. 3, it'd be like adding a new field on a form, or bulk removing expired Zendesk organizations, or adding a new Zendesk app that's going to make things better for the team, removing or deactivating macros, stuff like that. And then criticality 4 is kind of there's no real impacts for these. So adding or removing users, creating or updating macros, like we don't need to announce those in advance. They're kind of just things that happen. So scheduling wise, like a criticality 1 needs 4 weeks in advance time, 4 weeks in advance, 2 needs 3 weeks, 3 needs 2 weeks, and then criticality 4 doesn't need anything. It can just be done immediately. The link I have for all this also says who can approve an exception. So let's say somebody says we want to change the SLAs on this immediately. Okay, well, that's going to require the VP of customer support to give his approval or her approval, depending on the future, for that exception. Without that, our response is just going to be, we can't do this, sorry. We can schedule it 4 weeks from now, but we cannot do it tomorrow, today, all that fun stuff. And, if an exception is needed, paying the person or persons who can grant that exception, and then once they have commented on the issue, MR, what have you, granting that exception, then we can consider doing it. Just because somebody has granted exception doesn't necessarily mean we can still do it. If somebody was like, radically change Zendesk tomorrow, I approve everything, that's great, we still can't do it. Like we don't have bandwidth nor the ability to do all that and test it and get it deployed in less than 24 hours. And then communication is something we're changing with this criticality. So for all of our changes except criticality 4, like 4 is the exception to everything because you just do things immediately. But for all the other criticalities, you're going to post in the support ops channel, support ops announcement channel using that support ops announcement workflow that we have built. You're going to cross post and support team chat, and you're going to cross post and support US federal, but only if it impacts US federal. As an example, I posted about removing the expired orgs today. I did not post in US Federal because it doesn't impact them. That's only on global. So Dan, that'll mostly come with your territory, because usually the other things we do aren't going to impact US Federal directly. And then you're going to make a SWR item, support we can review item. There's a form to fill out to do that. It pretty much is like copy pasting from the actual announcement itself, so it's not too bad. But all of what I just said should be done every week leading up to the actual change. So using an example I've got documented, if you were making a change on December 30th, you should be doing all of that for December 2nd, December 9th, December 16th, and December 23. So that's giving 4 weeks of announcements for a criticality 1 level change. Using the same example, if it was criticality 3, you'd post on the 16th and the 23rd. And then obviously on the 30th, you'd do the thing and say, hey, it's done. I know one thing that was kind of asked was, so who communicates to this channel or this team or all that? The actual requester is going to be in charge of that. So whomever requested it needs to be the one communicating to other channels, other teams, etc. We're just going to handle core communication. And the reason for that is everything is way too circumstantial for any of us to define it. So the requester needs to make that decision, or DRI, I should say, for the request. But that's basically what we're going to do on every issue, every MR. Some of our issues and MRs will auto add a change label for you. That is just because by default, that's probably what it is. A good example is the macros are always going to add change 4. Chances are it's always a change 4. But when you go to work your issue or MR, review it and decide if that's correct. If it's missing one, add one. And then what we're going to tell people is to subscribe to those labels so they can be aware of those changes that have the impact they're looking for. Like I will be subscribed to every change level 1. So anytime one is filed, I'll get an email and all that fun stuff. So I can say, okay, that's a change level 1. I need to be involved with that. I know that was a lot to take in really quickly.
Yeah, and I have a question regarding that. For example, you mentioned Zendesk View. I'm just clearing it up. Zendesk views, like changing them completely is definitely criticality 1. But adding just a field in the existing view, it is, I
adding
believe,
a column,
criticality
I would actually
4.
call, I'd call that criticality 3.
4.
3
No,
or
3?
4, like it's debatable between the two,
Yeah.
depending on. You always have to consider, like I added this to the second column, right? So you just shove some stuff to the far right, might not be in people's visible view anymore. That might not be in. That's something we would want to announce, but something like we're adding this column at the far right of the page. All right, it's going to have the same impact as if, so that's why there's not, some of this isn't like super hard to find because you're going to have to make some judgment calls on it. So something like adding a column, not a big deal because, it does have an impact, but it is not significant. Whereas like, oh, we're removing 8 columns and adding all these new columns and changing how the conditions are and stuff like that. It's like, that's a dramatic change to that view. And that's something that needs to be done well in advance. So yeah, like I said, like some of this, you're going to have to kind of use judgment calls on this because if I tried to make if we try to make a definite list, you're always going to have, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this? And the answer is there's always edge cases, exceptions, etc. I trust all the people in the support operations team to make that judgment call. If they're ever unsure, you can ping me or Lyle, or you can ping Napil as a senior. Any of those people, ping anybody else. Be like, I'm really not sure on this, and they can kind of help you look it over and say, look, I think it's this. I feel like this is what we should call it. Any other questions, comments, concerns about the criticality stuff? Cool. So just moving forward, as you work your issues and MRs, add that label there. If one's already there, just review to make sure it makes sense. Like I said, all the macros are going to auto add 4, but deactivating or removing a bunch of macros is a criticality 3. So you would have to change the label in that situation. Although I might review that because I feel like deactivating macros that haven't been used. I mean, I might change that to removing or deactivating active macros because inactive macros don't matter. But like I said, judgment call. Okay, cool. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is to align with data retention policies and, the law. We're going to start deleting orgs that have expired 3+ years ago, starting on the 3rd of October. I've been working on the sync script to handle all that for us, which is awesome. It'll make us not have any workload and it'll all be automated and we won't have to worry about it. The caveat is that first run has about 2,600 orgs that it's slated to delete. And while the script can handle that, I really want us to review those 2,600 orgs before we actually just bulk delete a ton of them. As such, I've shared a Google Sheet and I've put it in our doc, but also posted in the Zoom here. If you look at this, there are 4 tabs, one for me, one for Nabil, one for Dan, one for Dylan. And on each one, it has an org name, the Salesforce ID, the Salesforce short ID, and a status column. Your task is to review that org, go into Zendesk, find them, look at them, and see if they have any active tickets. If all their tickets are closed, we're fine. You can mark them. You can change the status to good to delete. That's all you have to do on that one. If they have active tickets, mark it active ticket, do not delete. Now, your objective from there should be to try to get those tickets closed. So reach out to the assignee or a support manager and be like, hey, look, this is an org that's been expired for a long time. They're slated to be deleted. They have an open ticket. We really need to get that closed. I would also say review that requester and see if they're in the correct org. They could be assigned to a very expired org and that's incorrect and we want to get that fixed. And if you get fixed, well, then that org doesn't have any more active tickets and you can mark them good to delete. If when reviewing, you're really unsure how to proceed, take your row, put it on my tab and just remove it from yours and I'll review it and make judgment calls on that. The objective here is just to make sure that when we do this bulk deletion, and as you can see, it's like 664 orgs per person. I really want to make sure we're not about to do something harmful to someone with an active support ticket. Moving forward, it will be deleting very small amounts of orgs, so it's not as bad. This specific start is 2,600 something orgs. That's a lot of orgs to start with. So we really want to make sure we review these manually. I acknowledge that 664 orgs for you to manually go look at, and I would normally script this, but I really want to be better safe than sorry on this one. So manual review is the best step. I'd like to ask all of you to be done by the end of day Thursday so that I can kind of do what needs to be done for the deletion stuff.
Could we script like just to see which ones are like ready for deletion or whatever? And no, actually, I guess we need to know who's got open. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, so I thought about that. The problem is you're looking at one API call to get the org, one to get their tickets list.
Yeah.
Because you can't just do, their requests, right? If they have more than 20 or whatever, 25 or whatever it is, you're gonna have to make it for every ticket. And then you're gonna probably have to do another call to say, okay, now I need the ticket data. Dog felt the need to sit by me and start scratching. And then you'll have to grab ticket data to find the assignee and all that stuff. And honestly, at that point, when you've made like 3 or 4 API calls for one org, it was probably quicker for you just to look at it.
Yeah.
Now that said, if you want to take what I've got here and make a script and do something like that, I'm not going to discourage you from doing so. Yeah, I'm giving you 664 orgs to do. So how you want to go about that, I'm leaving up to you to decide.
All right. I have a question, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that this list has some false positives as well. Like there is a org which is not expired right now. I can check that. It is not expired.
If you come across ones that are not expired, definitely like, I don't know, mark them in some way.
Yeah, active ticket do not delete.
Yeah, so I can review it because I'll review all the ones that say active ticket do not delete. Like there should not be ones that are false positives. unless they're not syncing properly in Zendesk, which then would explain why they're false positives.
Even like solved, we would consider active, right? Because it's not
right. If it's like it's been solved for 6 days and it'll close tomorrow, just go ahead and close the ticket. If you don't know how to do that, yeah, you have to use the API to do it. But yeah, just kind of look over and make judgment calls on that stuff and kind of figure it out. If you're not unsure, just mark it active, do not delete, and I will review it. That one in particular you're looking at, Nabil, looks like they reviewed, man, they renewed like literally today, which is probably why it's come across. Yeah, so that if you see those, mark them active, I will move them from that list. A lot of that was I pulled this data very early this morning. So anybody who's renewed since then, well, yeah, they renewed since then. Like this particular person you just found, they renewed like today.
Yeah, there might be cases like that I have marked them good to delete, but by 3rd October, by October 3rd, they have renewed it. What to do then?
Yeah. If they renew between now and then, the script actually would not see them as eligible to be deleted, and they wouldn't be deleted. So, like this list came from what the script is finding as good as ready to be deleted. So if they renewed between now and then, when the script runs, it's going to see that they've renewed, and it will not mark them as ready to be deleted.
Okay. Oh, so these are like already.
That's
okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I grabbed these early this morning. This is as of this morning. If they renew between now and when the script actually does its first run, cool. We don't have to worry about it. And while you're going through these, if do not delete the org itself, because it's not the org itself that is deleted. We also, to follow data retention, have to delete every ticket, every user, and the org. So unless you want to manually go do all of that, which I wouldn't recommend, the script will handle it for us. Don't delete the org. Because I know that was my first thought is, I'll delete them as I go. And I'm like, no, wait, no, I have to do other things. And I might as well let the script do that. But definitely mark any false positives so I can look into it to see why was that there? What in that Salesforce account said that it's not active when it is? And of course, some of those could just be, they renewed today. I wouldn't have caught them at 7 this morning. But cool, I know that's a pretty monster task. I know that's also not a fun task, but it is something we need to do. So I appreciate it. If you get stuck on any of them, just like I said, move them over to my tab. That's fine. Once I get in like kind of a flow, I start knocking these out pretty quick. I'm sure I saw Nabil do a couple of them. They don't take that long to do, actually. And most of them should not have active tickets. Most of them should be very expired and very much not active.
Yeah.
Cool. Any questions on all of that?
Might have followed when I'm doing it, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, if you get stuck, feel free to hit me up. Let me know. Trying something slightly new this time. I added the upcoming PTO. So obviously Alyssa's on parental leave until 2023. I'm not going to bother with exact dates because 2023 is not that close. Dylan is off on the 26th, which was his yesterday, today. I don't know on time frame. His Monday, Tuesday. His Tuesday. That was his Tuesday. I don't know. Time math is terrible.
It's so hard. It's like so hard.
And in New Zealand just did like their daylight savings, so I was like, it's even worse. I mean, he's in Australia, but still. And I'll be off on the 18th. There will be more days in October I'm taking off, but that's the one coming up the soonest. And I mean, yeah. I'll say more about my days off when they actually get closer, but I just put that as an example for myself of, yep, I will be off on the 18th of October, which is in my mind, super far away, but it really isn't. It's scary how close pocket poker is already to us.
Yep, awesome. Cool.
Yeah, we might have lost. Any questions, comments, concerns, general feedback, any of that fun stuff? Anything you want to bring up?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Nabil, any questions, comments, anything you want to bring up?
Nope, I think that's completely fine. I am completely okay with it. Sorry, my net sucks. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. All right. Well, I'll let y'all have, what is that, 8 minutes of your day back. Have a good morning, evening, afternoon, dusk, tomorrow, Friday, whatever day of the week it is for you.
Cool.
Bye all.